There's an old saying that says, calm seas don't make skilled sailors. And it's so true. Turbulence reveals what we're actually made of. Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of the John Norman Leadership Podcast, bringing you content on the last Thursday of every month. And if you haven't already, please hit subscribe, share it with your friends, your colleagues, those around you at work. And every time we create more content, we'll make sure we drop it straight to you. And remember, you are your only limit. When you lift the level of your leadership, others rise around you. Right now, we're facing a global pandemic, COVID-19. And it's 2020 and we're right in the middle of coming out of it. But I want to just bring some context to what I'm saying today, because our role is to help you, give you tools to navigate through and out the other side of this crisis. So I hope today helps you and your teams and those around you. Now, I love flying. I miss flying. I miss getting onto an airplane and jetting off to various parts of the world. But there's two parts of flying I don't enjoy. The first part is in my control. That's arriving to the airport. When you get there, you've either forgotten your passport or you brought the wrong one. I was heading off to Dallas at the beginning of last year, and I went to the check-in desk with my daughter's passport instead of my own. Who knows? That's a schoolboy error. That was in my control. But the second part of flying is out of my control that I don't enjoy. It's when I hear this announcement across the tannoy. Ladies and gentlemen, the captain has turned on the fasten seatbelt sign. We shall be shortly experiencing turbulence. Please return to your seats and keep your seatbelts fastened. Turbulence. I don't enjoy turbulence when I fly. Anyone else doesn't enjoy that part of flying. I remember turbulence was once so bad on a flight to Sydney. This older lady, it was so bad, we were going up and down. She said, "Can I hold your hand?" And I said back to her, "I was just about to ask you, can I hold your hand?" And so I sat there with this old lady and we were holding hands for the best part of an hour because we both didn't enjoy turbulence. You know, they say that the number one fear which stops people flying is turbulence. Science lesson here. Turbulence is a violent, unsteady, chaotic movement of fluids like air and water. Or simply, when hot air and cold air particles come together, they cause a storm. I think the last 5 months, as leaders, we've flown head on into turbulence. Everything was calm, and then suddenly turbulence attacked our world. And as leaders, as CEOs, as volunteers, as employees, turbulence has struck us, hasn't it? The budgets are down. Staff morale is probably low. People losing their job, people being furloughed. And COVID-19, unlike nothing else in my life, has affected everyone. I read recently that 99 out of 100 people in the world right now will have been affected in some way, shape, or form by this crisis. Children have been affected with their school. Young adults in their careers and not being able to take their exams. Business, loss of income, redundancies. Parents who are now teachers. I think everyone we know has been affected. Maybe it's your holiday that has been affected. And our world has been hit by turbulence. Over the past few months, it's becoming really clear that it's not clear blue skies that are testing our leadership or capacity, but it's our skills and how we handle turbulence. As leaders, we're learning so much about our styles, our levels of empathy, our levels of compassion, and our skill at trying to navigate our business, the plane, through turbulence. You know, turbulence is actually a great teacher. You see, in the middle of turbulence, we discover what's actually in the middle of us. There's an old saying that says, calm seas don't make skilled sailors. And it's so true. Turbulence reveals what we're actually made of. And my prayer today is that this podcast is a catalyst moment for you. There's something that's said today will help you navigate the turbulence that you're facing in your job, in your role, in your charity, whatever that you're coming up against right now. So let's just understand a little background to turbulence, and then we're going to look at how we handle it. It's just a few things about turbulence. Number one is this: you never know when it's coming. Passengers, including myself, until I studied this, think that pilots have some device on the plane that warns you about approaching turbulence. They actually don't. Turbulence cannot be detected on a radar. The only reason that pilots are able to make announcements to the passengers is because other pilots in the area warn them of what's ahead. Turbulence is the unexpected, the things which suddenly come up in our lives. I don't know about you, but I've had those blue sky mornings and everything just seems so still and feels like it's going to be a great day, and then suddenly the phone rings. It's Dr. Turbulence or employer turbulence, and suddenly you didn't get the result you wanted at the doctor. You didn't get the job you wanted. And turbulence, it catches us off guard because you never know when it's coming. And if we're all really honest, COVID-19, it caught the world off guard. We all thought it was a different continent's problem, but it invaded our space and we didn't see it coming. The second thought around leading in turbulence is this: you never know where it's coming from. If you had forecast a turbulent year at the start of 2020, I would have connected it probably to Brexit, not a global pandemic. But maybe bringing it close to home in your organization, in your workplace. Turbulence often comes from places or maybe even people that you never expected it to. Maybe it's staff issues. Maybe people let you down. Maybe people signed a contract and backed out. We never know when turbulence is going to strike and where it's coming from. The third thing when it comes to turbulence is you never know how long it's going to last. On the plane, the worst part of turbulence is not knowing how long it's going to go for. It stops and then 10 minutes later it suddenly starts again. Last month, I thought we were kind of coming out of this pandemic, and then all over the world, a new wave of COVID strikes again, a second spike. But I want to encourage you today, whether it's in your business, in your church, in your organization, when we hit turbulence, maybe a staff member walks out, maybe something happens and we don't know how long it's going to last. Here's what I've learned. I can't control it. Don't waste energy on things that you can't control. Don't waste energy on the things in your organization that are out of your control. If someone leaves, that's out of your control, because you never know how long it's going to last. The fourth thing when it comes to turbulence is this: never lose sight that turbulence will come to an end. You never lose sight it's going to come to an end. Turbulence will eventually pass. You think some of the worst storms in history, storms like Hurricane Katrina, as bad as they were, as hard-hitting as they were, they come to an end. If you think about that thing you were worried about 3 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago, strong possibility it's past. I've never been on a flight where turbulence doesn't come to an end. And the challenges that we're facing right now in our world, as hard as they are and as challenging as they might seem, COVID-19 will come to an end. It's definitely a big challenge, but I must not lose sight, and you must not lose sight as leaders, that it will end. How do we handle it? When I was studying turbulence, I came across an experienced pilot's guideline for handling turbulence, and I realized that actually these were really helpful in leading our organizations. And there's a couple that I'll share with you are really unhelpful. The first one is this: clench your buttocks. I'm not sure that's going to help you right now in COVID-19, okay? So don't quote me on that one. The second was suck on a straw, but we're not allowed plastic straws anymore, and that wouldn't work on a paper one. So those two things aren't going to help you navigate in the season you're in. But the next 3 or 4 are really going to help us navigate the turbulence that we're facing in our workplaces and our organizations. Number one is this: you got to know your facts about flying. Before you fly, the pilot said, get your facts. He said this: planes are the safest mode of transport on God's planet. The second thing he said is planes don't crash because of turbulence. Planes crash because of a whole lot of other things, but one of them is not turbulence. The third thing he says is turbulence always feels worse than it is. Now, here's the facts. If you're listening to this podcast, I take it you're still with us. You're still alive. You survived lockdown. You survived being a parent at home. You survived, without your favorite restaurant. You survived not being able to go abroad or getting on an airplane. I want to congratulate you, because the fact is you are still here. And here's some more facts. The early signs is our economy is going to recover quicker than what we first thought. Here's another fact. People are a lot more resilient than we give them credit for. I think people are far more resilient. There's so much negativity out there, but what I'm seeing is people who are not giving up. They are moving forward, and we will come out of this stronger on the other side. And so I want to encourage you, first of all, when you're navigating and leading through turbulence, you got to know your facts about flying. You got to know your facts that we will come out of this. Second thing is just, you got to ignore unusual noises. On a plane during turbulence, you hear unusual sounds. Cases in the overhead compartments that are moving around, people making noises, even screaming. I was once in a turbulent situation on an airplane, and the lady beside me, she started to shriek. You know what happened when she started to shriek? People around her started to shriek. In life, during turbulence, and we are living in turbulent days, there's no doubt about it. You have to make a choice to ignore the unusual noises around us. It's amazing, on a calm day, you wouldn't give them another thought. But during turbulence, everything is amplified around us. Suddenly, what would be just another news article right now is playing havoc in people's minds. Here's just a few things to ignore as leaders. Number one is ignore the noise of people's opinions. Be incredibly careful when you are in turbulence that you have the right voices around you. Everyone will have an opinion right now on how you should lead your business, how you should lead the organization, how you should kickstart, when you should go back to work, when you should furlough staff, when you should unfurlough staff. But there's a lot of opinion out there. As a church pastor, which I am, there's lots of opinion about when we should restart and safety measures, so many different opinions. You got to make a decision that in this season, that you're the one anointed to lead your business, to lead the organization. It's your opinion that counts, and please seek wise counsel and take those steps. But ultimately, you got to ignore the noise around you. The second noise is the noise of fear. Fear has a real sound right now in our world. And our country, our world is facing this turbulence. And the noise of fear is noise like second spike and corona and pandemic. And the media is so often full of fear, full of the noise of fear. I think our brains can only handle so much negativity before it affects our bodies. So I want to encourage us, leaders, don't take unusual noises to heart. Don't allow them to become resident in your heart. The noise of fear, the noise of people's opinion. You got to ignore unusual opinions. Number 3, you got to listen to the captain. In turbulent times, you got to listen to the captain. Whenever there's turbulence on a flight, who knows, there is only one voice that matters. It's not the voice of the screaming passenger, it's the captain's voice. And right now, as leaders, our role is to navigate our organization through this unprecedented time. And we have to trust the professionals. And I'll be honest with you, that's hard. Because we're talking about social distancing and wearing a mask, and for others, maybe you're in a lockdown scenario again. If you're living in countries like Australia and South Africa, and that's really difficult. But rather than fighting the system, we've actually got to trust the professionals. It's amazing how many virus experts like myself are in the office right now. We're not really experts. We just want life to get back to some sort of normal. But this is what I realized: the pilot is trained to deal with turbulence. We've got to let him do his job. And number 4 is you got to fasten your seatbelt. I think this is crucial for us as leaders when we're navigating turbulent times. It's actually not against the law to get up and move around during turbulence on a plane, even when the seatbelt light's on, and even when the pilots ask you to stay seated. It's not actually, they can't force you to sit down. However, it can be catastrophic if you stand up. I once needed the bathroom during a turbulent time, and I thought I'd just slip out and sneak into the bathroom. Let me tell you, I paid a high price for that as I fell on the bathroom floor, 20,000 feet in the air. You see, you don't move in turbulence, you stay still. One of the biggest lessons, the biggest leadership lessons that I've learned in leading an organization and leading people through turbulence is this: our emotions and our feelings will tell us to do all sorts of things during turbulence. I don't know about you, but my emotions and my feelings were all over the place during lockdown. One moment you're feeling up and then the next moment you're feeling down. And that will be exactly the same for those who are following us as well in our workplaces. Never make a life-changing decision during turbulence. You got to fasten your seatbelt and you got to use the time to evaluate, reflect, and plan to navigate a way out. I think we've got to stay agile as leaders as we approach turbulence. Stay adaptable. Stay creative in your thinking. Surround yourself with people who will have those honest conversations with you. During this season of fastening our seatbelts, I've been asking every week during this turbulence 4 questions to our staff and to our team on our exec. And these are 4 questions I want to pitch to you and say, hey, use these questions to help you navigate turbulence. Number 1 is this: what do we start? As we're in this season of sitting still, not wandering around and making choices that we could live to regret, but actually, what do we start? We started a food program at the start of this pandemic as a church, and we fed over 450,000 meals to those who are in most need. But we realized that as an organization, we had a social responsibility to our city and to those who are in need around us. And so we're constantly asking, hey, what can we start? How can we respond in this season? The second question we ask during turbulence is, what do we stop? What do we stop? Is this working? In a post-COVID world, is this working right now? There's going to be some things that we're going to have to stop in our organization. And just because they were a good idea in 2019, it doesn't mean to say they're going to be a good idea in the second half of 2020. You got to be brutally honest with yourself and with others. What do we need to stop? And sometimes they're painful conversations. Third question we ask is, what do we suspend? For us, as a church, we ran a cafe. People would come in, but the reality is right now we had to suspend our cafe because it had to close, but it was losing money. And often we have to suspend things within the business, within the organization, to create some margin for us to be able to think clearer, for us to be able to use that resource in another area of the business. So what do we start? What do we stop? What do we suspend? What just needs to be on hold right now? And the fourth question is this: what do we speed up? What's working and needs some more time and resource? It's amazing when you suspend something, it creates some space for you to keep building momentum in other areas. So what do we speed up? What needs to speed up? What's working so well? You just need to keep plowing. For us right now as a church, we have a church online and we've been able to put so much great content into the air. And so we're going to keep putting content out. We're speeding it up because people are enjoying it. People are needing it right now. People need that message of hope. So as we lead in turbulence, you've got to know your facts about flying. You've got to ignore unusual noises. You've got to listen to the captain. You've got to fasten your seatbelt. I think turbulence will always be part of our leadership journey. It won't just be COVID-19, and that's a big turbulent season, but hey, when this dies down, there could be other things that approach us moving forward. But our role is to keep agile, keep ready, and remember, as you rise above the turbulence, others will rise with you. Hey, thanks for joining us today. I hope this message has inspired you and helped you. If it has, please share it with someone, and together we can move forward. God bless. I'd value your commitment by liking it, sharing it, subscribing to it, commenting on it, and sharing it with your teams. Remember, you are your only limit, and this podcast is to lift the level of your leadership, and as you rise, others will rise around you.